The UK government has published a white paper outlining its vision for a more transparent and efficient Companies House. The white paper is the result of an extensive consultation process that began in September 2020. Some of the proposals contained there indicate a paradigm shift in terms of the function and the tasks of the register. There are essentially two goals. On the one hand, Companies House should become more modern and digital and ultimately more reliable. On the other hand, it should be able to support the achievement of the government's goals. In this respect, the fight against economic crimes, especially money laundering, and the creation of a safe economic life equipped with trustworthy information should be mentioned. And if it's true, it sounds great. There's a short section of the plans in this video I'll talk about. Of course, there's no guarantee that they will all be implemented one-to-one, but the basic direction is unlikely to change much. A registrar running the UK company register has been doing just that and no more, keeping the register, taking information, or, if necessary, urging it on. The information is then used in the right place, sometimes publicly, sometimes just confidentially. According to the plans presented, the registrar should also be given the right to check and question the content of such information. There must be a factual reason for this, an error, an inaccuracy, or some other deviation from the norm. In the background, there may be fraud or another crime or a negative impact on the integrity of the register or on business confidence. This right should relate to already existing documents as well. However, the right to reject submitted documents if the register sees justified suspicions should be particularly noticeable in practice. The source of such suspicions can be information stored in other registered or by other authorities, including law enforcement agencies. In this respect, there should be simplifications in accessing such information and in data comparisons. Companies House is to develop a program for digital identity verification. This is intended to further improve the accuracy and reliability of the stored information. Regardless of the legal form, each registered company must have at least one natural person whose identity has been verified. In addition, the managing persons of corporations, the partners in LLPs, those limited liability partnerships, but also beneficial owners and other persons who submit documents to Companies House should set up an account there. This should also be linked to verification of the identities of these people. Foreign companies should also be required to register and verify directors. If persons subject to verification violate this obligation, fines are discussed or even public disclosure of this fact. The users should then be able to make their own judgment about the trustworthiness of the company concerned. So-called corporate directors are managing directors of British corporations who are not natural persons but companies themselves. At present, such corporate directors are possible so long as at least one director is an individual. They can also come from other countries, for example from countries in which the commercial register provides little or no transparency requirements at the moment. In the future, the use of corporate directors is to be restricted. The UK government is considering the following requirements. It must be a UK registered company and all directors of that company are individuals whose identity has been verified. In addition to the obligation to register so-called PSCs, that's people with significant control or beneficial owners, since 2016, which dates back, by the way, to EU times, another important transparency obligation is to be created. In the future, corporations should have an obligation to name their shareholders. This should apply without restriction to private corporations, to publicly traded companies if the shareholders hold more than 5% of the shares. To this end, the company should submit a one-off opening list and then report on changes annually. The availability of information about deleted companies should be improved. The plan is for such information to be available for 20 years and, importantly, free of charge and freely available. On the other hand, there can also be a less degree of transparency here and there, namely in connection with personal data. Directors and beneficial owners should have the right to withhold certain information from the public under simpler conditions than before. In such cases, inquirers should have to prove a legitimate interest in the requested information in order to receive it. If this does not succeed, they remain in the dark, just like the general public. Overall, this is a very good development if this really happens. After what we had now with the law on conversion therapies that was pulled back, um, I have to be skeptical. We had a lot of promises for new laws by this government, and then they just made poof and vanished. And so, if this law comes the way it is described by the GTAI here in Germany, um, it will be a good thing. It will be the further, well, it will be further steps on the way that the EU started, as you know, and I mentioned it in the video. There are some rules still there from the EU which are the basis for this new development. And if they develop it further, I expect the EU to develop in the same direction, by the way. And so it would be good. And then they would be both on track there, all fine. But after all I know about this government and after all I reported on this government, I have to be skeptical. But if it comes, good thing. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.